the program to talk about Sukkot. We will just dive right into our service with our opening song, which is very appropriate to the season because it this is a song that was based on the book of that's based on a passage from the book of Ecclesiastes, which is traditionally associated and read on the holiday of Sukkot. So here I'm going to share the screen with that. Okay, give me a second. Okay, Rebecca.
Shabbat Shalom. I just wanted to give a heads up that the audio will not make the sound of my guitar known when I'm playing it, so I'm just singing for tonight. Sorry to disappoint, but it'll still work out. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn. A time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of peace, a time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time for love, a time for hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late.
Thank you, Rebecca. We will stop share and we will begin with our service on page 3. Give me a second. Okay, Susan.
The past, present, and future are timelessly linked in the spinning circle of life. Our past was the seed that became the present. We can make it bloom in the future if we nurture it with love, respect, and understanding of the shared culture and heritage that we call life. We gather together as Jews have long gathered to create Shabbat. Let us pause from our everyday lives to make it a special time. Let us put aside the demands, expectations, and pace of our daily existence to celebrate Shabbat. Let the possibilities of this time together be embraced. Let every potential for wisdom, harmony, and joy be realized. Shabbat is a time for peace, contemplation, introspection, understanding, and hope. It is a time for love, laughter, and joy to be shared by all gathered here. Shabbat is a time for learning about the goodness of life, for reaffirming our identity and our beliefs. It is a time for having the courage to express the best within us. Let us grasp these moments and cherish them.
Thank you, Susan. Let's continue with candle lighting. If you have candles, now is a good time to light them. We renew ourselves for the week ahead so that we will have strength for ourselves, our families, and our part in making the world a better place. We kindle the lights of Shabbat as symbols of human enlightenment and human compassion, to celebrate our coming together, to illuminate our lives and the warmth we find in our community. We remember the generations before us who lit candles as we do and found beauty and serenity in their light. Let us say together, Na'eh ha'oba olam, Na'eh ha'oba adam, Na'eh ha'oba Shabbat, Nokir et o HaShabbat. How wonderful is the light in the world! How wonderful is the light within humanity! How wonderful is the light of Shabbat! We cherish the light of Shabbat.
Na'eh ha'or ba'olam, Na'eh ha'or ba'atam, Na'eh ha'or ba'shabbat, Nokir et or HaShabbat. Efo ribi, Efo tikvati, tikvati bi, Efo kochi, kochi bi, Vegam bach, vegam bach, Efo kochi, kochi bi, Vegam bach, vegam bach. Where is my light? My light is in me. Where is my hope? My hope is in me. Where is my strength? My strength is in me and in you, and in you. Where is my strength? My strength is in me and in you, and in you.
Thank you, Rebecca. The values of secular humanistic Judaism. On Shabbat, we celebrate and reaffirm our Jewish identity. A Jew is someone who identifies with the history, culture, and future of the Jewish people. We make connections to our past, to our ancestors, and to our future by leading meaningful lives. We believe that Jewish identity is best preserved in a free, pluralistic environment that honors all cultures. We believe in the nobility of human fellowship and the joy of unity. The freedom and dignity of the Jewish people must go hand in hand with the freedom and dignity of every human being. Human beings possess the power and responsibility to shape their own lives independent of supernatural authority. Jewish history is a human saga, a testament to the significance of human power and human responsibility. We believe in the gift of human reason and the strength of human potential to shape our own lives. Okay. We'll pause for another song. Rebecca, what's our next song?
Lo Yisa Goy.
Okay, well, I'll share the screen. Give me a second. Stop share here. And Lo Isa Goy.
Lo Yisa Goy el Goy Herev, Lo Yilmadu od milchama, Lo Yisa Goy el Goy Herev, Lo Yilmadu od milchama. Lo Yisa Goy el Goy Herev, Lo Yilmadu od milchama, Lo Yisa Goy el Goy Cherev, Lo Yilmadu od milchama. And everyone neath vine and tree will live in peace and harmony. And everyone neath vine and tree will live in peace and harmony. And into plowshares beat their swords, Nation shall study war no more, and into plowshares beat their swords. Nation shall study war no more. Lo yisa goy el goy cherev, lo yimadu od milchama. Lo yisa goy el goy cherev, lo yimadu od milchama.
Okay. Thank you, Rebecca. Now I stop the share. Now, if anybody has any news that they would like to share, anything nice and wonderful happening in your lives, now is a good time to share. I don't see everybody because of the nature of my screen. So if you do have something to share, we're not that many people. Just unmute and say it.
I may have a cover reveal to post online very shortly.
For your
book.
your novel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
The novel I've sold, I'm going to be able to do a cover reveal very shortly. So everybody get a chance to see the cover.
Oh wow! I'm really looking forward.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Anyone else?
I can share. So Rachel, as most of you know, has been working in the Attorney General's office in New Jersey. She recently got tapped to, as it's a promotion really, to now work in the governor's office, and she is leading the environmental division there. So
Wonderful, Rachel. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been this is my first week, so it's been very, very busy.
Well, wonderful. I'm sure you'll do wonderful things, Rachel.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's a good opportunity, so I'm thankful for that.
Wonderful.
Thanks. Sorry, we're off camera because we're eating. We've been working until about 5 minutes ago, so it's not. We'll come online or on camera soon.
No worries. So for us, for my family, we are at we are at the end of the holiday of Sukkot. This is one of the ways we celebrate Sukkot is we go to a Jewish retreat center called Isabella Friedman, which is in the midst, which is in Connecticut, and we're surrounded by fall foliage and a beautiful lake, and it's very quiet and nice over here, and so we're very grateful to be here.
I have something.
Yeah.
So this was the first year that David Freeman got to be with us at part of our high holidays. We got to see him for his birthday, which was a real treat. So, David, you're not saying it, but I'm saying it for you. David was here. Hooray!
Yes, David, welcome. Happy birthday.
Wait, David is here?
Yes, David is here on the Zoom.
Where is he?
David's here. You got to look.
Where is he?
He's on one of your windows, Samantha.
Do you have it set up as just you, or do you have it set up as you can see the tiles?
Oh, David!
There he
Put
is.
your camera on. I want to see you. Okay. All right. I was just emailing him. Okay.
Well,
anyway,
wonderful.
Yay. Mazel.
Thank you, David.
Mazel.
We're so happy to see you. It was wonderful to have you to see you on the high holidays in person, and we're very happy to see you right here. Welcome. Okay, anyone else? Okay, so otherwise we will continue with our service in our next song, which is Seasons, right?
Yes.
Yes, I do not have the lyrics in front of me, but we will listen to Rebecca's beautiful voice.
Oh. Okay. I'm sure you guys are familiar, so do as you'd like. A time for winter, a time for spring, a time to celebrate, a time to sing, a time for summer, a time for fall, a time to enjoy life one and all, a time to enjoy life one and all. Over and over, round and round, seasons fade into seasons found. Over and over, round and round, the cycles of nature safe and sound. The cycles of nature safe and sound. Again and again, it's nature's way. Time for planting brings time to play. A time to sow and a time to reap. A time to awaken, a time to sleep. A time to awaken, a time to sleep. It started long before we were here. On and on it goes year by year. It matters not the reason why. We treasure each gift of earth and sky. We treasure each gift of earth and sky. A time for winter, a time for spring, a time to celebrate, a time to sing, a time for summer, a time for fall, a time to enjoy life one and all, a time to enjoy life one and all.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. We're going to continue with our service with a section on families. Kathy, are you able to read if I show it?
Yes. Can you guys hear me okay?
Here we go.
There are many ways to connect. There are many ways to belong. Some people find a loving partner and choose commitment. Some have children and nurture them with tender care. Others live the single life. Strangers meet strangers and become good friends. Good friends can become as close as family. Clans and tribes, nations and peoples all embrace their members and give them the security of identity and roots. The ever-changing contemporary Jewish family challenges our notions and stereotypes from model families to familial. Many Jews who have felt excluded from the tribal family in years past still hope to find their place within the Jewish community. Secular culture has new models of what constitutes a family. Single mothers and fathers, non-married adults, gay couples, couples without children. Sorry. Segregation and our understanding makes for everyone. As the Jewish community grows its awareness that Jewish families with varied configurations, including interracial and interracial families, so too may our institutions grow to be the University of Families today. With so much emphasis on traditional families, married adults often feel sidelined in Jewish communal life. As more adults remain single, let us consider that they are a welcome integral part of our Jewish.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. So now we will move to our section on those in need. In this community where we find strength and common purpose, we now turn our minds and hearts toward those who need our love, who are ill, who are lonely, who suffer pain, or have been wronged. I'm stopping the share. If you have the name of somebody that you're thinking about who is ill or in need, now's a good time to say their name.
Robert Astor.
Thank you.
My friend Robin Blumenthal.
Thank you, Wendy. Yeah. May all who suffer know they are not alone. May they experience refuah shlema, the renewal of body and spirit. Rebecca?
Makom hakoham betochenu mekorot haberacha mechavrotenu. May the source of strength that dwells so deep within us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Shalom. מקורות הברכה מחברותינו. May those in need of healing know refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Shalom.
Thank you, Rebecca. Memorial. Let us proclaim the preciousness of life. Let us show gratitude for life by approaching it with reverence. Let us embrace the whole world even as we wrestle with its parts. Let us each in our own way take up our share in serving the world and seeking truth. May our commitment to life help us to strengthen healing of spirit and peace of mind in ourselves and others. And let us say, Lu Yahi, may it be so. I'm going to stop the sharing. If anybody has the name of somebody they're remembering, it's a yahrzeit. Now is a good time to say their name. So I'm remembering today, just yesterday was the Hebrew, on the Hebrew calendar, was the anniversary of October 7th, because it was Simchat Torah. So I am remembering all the victims of October 7th and what transpired afterwards, and the horrible, horrible toll it has taken on Israel and on Palestine and on the world. And I'm hoping that it ends soon. Okay. We will say Zecher Tzaddik.
Zecher Tzaddik Livracha. Zecher Tzaddik Livracha. With our tears and our sorrow, we remember Zecher Tzaddik Livracha. With our courage and our strength, we do not forget. Acts of kindness, deeds of courage will remain. Death cannot take that which is locked in our hearts. Zecher Tzaddik Livracha. Zecher Tzaddik Livracha. Zecher Tzaddik Livracha. May the memory of good people bless our days. Zecher Tzaddik Livracha.
Thank you, Rebecca. We turn to the blessings over wine and challah. If you have wine and challah, now is a good time to bring them out. We celebrate the fruit of the vine and nature's gifts. As we bend nature to our pleasure, we also think about our duties as caretakers of this planet. We dedicate this wine to the joy of Shabbat, to the lives of generations past and generations to come, and to the planet that sustains us. Let us say together, Na'im ha'chaim ba'olam, Na'im ha'chaim banu, Na'im migadlei pri hagafen, l'chaim. We celebrate the life within the world. We celebrate the life within us. We cherish those who grow and tend the fruit of the vine, l'chaim, to life.
Na'im ha'chaim ba'olam, Na'im ha'chaim banu, Na'im migadlei pri hagafen, l'chaim.
Breaking bread together is an ancient custom in many cultures. It signifies sharing, fellowship, and coming together in peace. We reenact this ritual together as a sign of our common humanity, our care for one another, and for those less fortunate than ourselves. Let us say together, Na'e matnat hamazon, na'e amal kapenu, na'e lechem haaretz b'te'avon. How wonderful is the gift of food. How wonderful is the work of our hands. How wonderful is the bread of the earth. We cherish those who bring forth bread from the earth.
Na'e matnat hamazon, na'e amal kapenu, na'e lechem haaretz b'te'avon.
Okay, we are reaching the conclusion of our service. Dominic, can you read this last passage? Dominic?
Yeah. Each of us is here for a temporary stay on Earth. For what purpose, I don't know, but it is plain that we exist for all fellow humans. In the first place, for those upon whose smile and welfare our happiness depends, and the next for those unknown to us personally, but to whose destinies we are bound by the tie of sympathy. 100 times a day I remind myself, but my inner outer life depends on the labor of others, living and dead, that I must exert myself in order to give in the measure I have received, and I am still receiving.
Thank you,
Albert
Dominic.
Einstein.
Thank you, Dominic. Okay, we will conclude the service with a song, Maya Fe Hayom. Very simple song, one line. Maya Fe Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Rebecca.
Maya Fe Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Fe Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for everyone for joining us for this service. We are going to begin our cultural program, and that is on the holiday of Sukkot, which has just concluded. So, Sukkot is really a holiday that we don't celebrate very often at City Congregation, except at kids' school, because there's high holiday fatigue. That's my interpretation of it. But really, as a rabbi and as a person, I would much prefer to do Sukkot than Yom Kippur if I had the choice. Meaning, Sukkot is a holiday of joy, a holiday, there's a celebration, there is, and it is just a wonder to celebrate. It's just a holiday dedicated entirely to happiness, and that is something that after the solemnity of Rosh Hashanah would be something that I would very much appreciate. But alas, no, the way holidays are celebrated, we have Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and then Sukkot is a little bit left alone and not celebrated as much in humanistic communities. So I'm going to, I've crafted a program that is going to focus on 7 weird and wonderful traditions that are associated with the holiday of Sukkot that we as humanists can celebrate. So the first is that I want to talk about is the reading of the book of Ecclesiastes, or Kohelet. So Ecclesiastes was the first Jewish freethinker. What is a freethinker? A freethinker is a deist or an atheist or an agnostic, somebody who is not governed by the orthodox norms, theological norms of his time. So there were very likely many others, and there always are, but he is the first recorded. He appears in our scripture, in the Hebrew Bible, and I like him so much. I like the Book of Ecclesiastes so much that I changed my middle name from one that I don't like to the name Kohelet that I do like. And so now I am, instead of Tzemach Lapidot, I am Tzemach Kohelet. And that's because I love to be associated with the first of the Jewish freethinkers. And our first song of this service was actually from one of the most famous passages from the Book of Ecclesiastes, from the Book of Kohelet. Turn. It's a song that appears frequently in humanist liturgy. We have it often at life cycle events, especially funerals, and it is. But that is just one of many of the great passages. So why is Kohelet read on the holiday of Sukkot? The reason is because Kohelet was an existentialist, and what he emphasized above everything else was to be joyful in the time that you have. And that was his first and primary piece of advice for us, to be joyful. And that is why traditionally it was read on the holiday of Sukkot. And we as humanists, we should embrace this, in my opinion. We should read the Book of Ecclesiastes as well, because it's a celebration of free thinking in Judaism, and one that we can be has a very long tradition of its own. And the Book of Ecclesiastes, which was likely composed 2,200 years ago, maybe a little long, maybe 2,300 years ago, was the first of these great works. And so I encourage anybody who wants to explore the Book of Ecclesiastes more on the holiday of Sukkot. So another weird and wonderful tradition, the second I'm going to talk about. And by the way, anybody who has questions about any of this, please put it in the chat, and I will try to address it. And of course, I will open this up to discussion after I present. So another wonderful tradition that we have on the holiday of Sukkot is the waving of certain plants. There are four plants that are associated with the holiday of Sukkot. They are named the etrog, the citron. There's the lulav, which are date palms. Then there are plants that are closer to the water, like willow plants, and they, they're a wide variety. So what's weird and wonderful about these plants? Well, what are the reasons that these particular plants were used? Were to evoke what's called sympathetic magic, and it was specifically the date palm. If you shake it, it sounds like the wind and storm, we know that this is the season. We're at a turning point seasonally. At least in the Mediterranean, but also elsewhere, where, but especially in the Mediterranean, there are really two seasons. There's the dry season and there's the wet season. And it was existential. It's an existential issue. If there's no rain, there's nothing to eat, and people starve. And so people tried to bring rain in every way possible. And one of the ways that they thought about in the ancient world was through sympathetic magic. So they would wave a plant that evoked thunder and rain, and then would do it in various configurations. So there's this very intricate rituals surrounding the waving of these plants. You have to wave it. You have to wave this date palm of the citron in a series of 6 directions: northeast, southwest, up and down. That's not the way you're supposed to do it. And then you're supposed to walk around in a circle. We know that circles are associated with magic, and you're supposed to recite a mixture of syllables that traditionally were associated with God's name. And so all of this, is akin to magic spells as we know them. And, that's, of course, none of this is particularly humanist, but it is, I think, as we can tell, we've had a couple of horrible hurricanes this season in the United States. And just thinking about water at the right and wrong time during this holiday is very important, and anything that serves as a reminder, just to have that on our mind, to be able to. We can't control the weather. Marjorie Taylor Greene seems to think that Jews have space lasers that manage to bring hurricanes, but that, of course, is the complete and utter bupkis. So, no, in the absence of that, we have to think about it, and we have to be able to address devastation when water does not come at the right time, or water doesn't come at all. So that is, another aspect of the holiday of Sukkot. So again, a third thing that I want to talk about are a little bit drill down into these plants that are associated with the holiday of Sukkot. So one of them is the citron, the etrog, which is it's a fascinating fruit. And in the Hebrew Bible, when it talks about the four types of plants that they're associated with the holiday of Sukkot, well, it doesn't really go into as much detail as we'd like. It never does in the Hebrew Bible. But it just says a majestic fruit. So when we were at kids' school just this past week, this past Sunday, I asked the children what they thought were the most majestic fruits, and the answer that I liked most was the pineapple. Personally, it looks like a crown, but other answers, like I got the star fruit. That really is a beautiful fruit. There's the watermelon, which is just giant in any case. But the citron, the etrog, wasn't immediately associated with the holiday of Sukkot. It became associated with the holiday of Sukkot in the rabbinic period, specifically when it got associated with citrus. So it's most close. It's very close to a lemon, but it smells a lot better than a lemon. Anybody who's handled citrons know that their smell is wonderful. And just anecdotally, when I was a child, my parents made etrog ice cream. They would grind the etrog and melt it into vanilla ice cream, and then a number of years into that family tradition, they found out that usually etrogs were with much too many pesticides, and that was the end of that tradition. But while that tradition lasted, it tasted very, very good. Okay, but we should really, because Sukkot is a holiday that is associated with harvest. That we should be celebrating produce in the holiday of Sukkot. The Connecticut congregation years ago invited city congregation for apple picking. And definitely that's a wonderful thing to do on Sukkot. We're the right season, and we're the right climates. In other places, it will be other fruits and vegetables, but really, this is the time, and so. In sukkahs, in the booths that we have on the holiday of Sukkot, often you have fruits and vegetables hanging and being displayed, and it's just wonderful to see. I just love the wide variety of fruits and vegetables that you find on the holiday of Sukkot. you may or may not know that Sukkot actually is the precursor to the holiday of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is celebrated a month and a half later on the Jewish calendar, on the secular calendar. But the timing of Thanksgiving was not always at the same time in late November. It used to be earlier in Canada. You have Thanksgiving a month earlier, much closer to the holiday of Sukkot, and definitely the Pilgrims would. Were celebrating thankfulness for having come to the United States and the abundance that they found there, and just the there was a utopian picture of Native Americans and settlers celebrating together. That we know there's of course a bad history around that, but people coming together in peace is something that we always can celebrate. So a lot of just like we have we have a lot of pumpkins on the on the holiday of Thanksgiving. You often find beautiful gourds hanging in sukkahs. Um, okay, so another tradition that I've just become enamored of in the past years. Here we're at number 5 is the tradition of sukkah hopping. So sukkah hopping is a tradition where you go from sukkah to sukkah, and children like it especially because it is very akin to trick or treating. You go from one sukkah to another and get candy. So here we have a form of Jewish Halloween, which is actually where Halloween is this coming week. Definitely widely celebrated where we live. We have about 300 kids knocking on our door every Halloween. But the precursor to Halloween, we have a precursor over here. We have sukkah hopping, and that is celebrated in Riverdale. Definitely, it was celebrated this year, and my children enjoyed it a lot. And just being able to visit, sukkahs are open more to the public. In general, if you build a sukkah, it's outside. People can see you. It's more public. You can, and there's more openness. So basically, we're coming to tradition number 6. Something that the sukkah, the booth, resembles most is actually another structure, and that is the chuppah. The chuppah, where people get married under, is a covering with 4 poles, but it, generally, symbolically, has evoked a home that is open. But you may or may not know that a sukkah does not require 4 walls. It actually requires 2 walls and a bit. It doesn't. It's also a very, very open structure. It's a structure meant to bring people in and to be more public. And so they, when the rabbis spoke about building sukkahs, they really, made it as open as possible and try to have people, just be welcome in other people's sukkahs. And so, minimum amount of walls, 2.5 walls was one of the ways that they did it. Another way is to create a lot of like the way walls are constructed is a lot of open space and just large. You can construct the bottom of the wall, and then there's a big, large open air, and you can see people from there as well. So sukkahs are those kinds of structures, and I just love those. The temporary structure. It's a little bit harder to actually celebrate Sukkot in booths outside on the holiday of Sukkot. This year we've been lucky in the Northeast. In the Northeast, we've had some glorious weather over here, and we've been able to be outside this holiday of Sukkot. Sometimes it's not conducive. I remember as a child celebrating Sukkot in Toronto, where we just weather dipped below freezing, and so it wasn't possible. But really, you can tell that the place where this holiday originated was in Mediterranean climates, where at this time of year it's nice, and cool, and pleasant outside. Generally, rain hasn't started in all its glory yet, and so it's also a good time you can sleep outside. Finally, one of the traditions that I like best about the holiday of Sukkot is associated with guests. So just like at the holiday of Passover, where we invite Elijah, and these days we also invite Miriam to our Seder. We give them the last cup of wine or water. So too, there's this idea of inviting our ancestors into the sukkah to be with us, and they come, and then just that idea of bringing in guests from far away from our history is meant to really connect this holiday to our history. This has been a part of how we've celebrated this holiday for more than 2,000 years. And really, the holiday of Sukkot has been celebrated very consistently. It's other holidays not as consistently, but Sukkot, since it's associated so deeply with harvest, has been a very consistent celebration, and it's part of that consistency is associated with the sukkah as being a symbol of temporariness, like of a perpetual exile, where the Israelites have wandered from place to place and have had to be temporary in that place, never entirely feeling at home wherever they are, and just that yearning for a home. And so we have that in the historically it's connected, just like Passover actually. The holiday of Sukkot is connected to the Exodus from Egypt. According to the tradition in the Hebrew Bible, the Jews dwelt in Sukkot, in booths, as they left Egypt. Okay, and so those were 7 weird and wonderful traditions associated with Sukkot. I'm going to bring an 8th tradition, just because we're in North America, and there's always an extra day tacked on to 7-day holidays here, just like there's an 8th day tacked on in the case of Passover, Pesach. So in the case of Sukkot, sometimes you have 2 or 3 extra days. And this is one of the years where Sukkot is really celebrated 10 days. And not just 7 days. It's celebrated 10 days because, at least in religious communities, you have the 8th day, which is kind of half Sukkot and half not. Then there's a 9th day added to that 8th day right afterwards. But and that is the holiday of Simchat Torah, the holiday where in traditional communities the Torah scroll is read again. But traditionally, people celebrate it as though it were a Sabbath, and so you have the holiday starting Wednesday, and then you have Wednesday evening, then you have Thursday, then you have Friday, then you have Saturday. So that's the Saturday that we're going into is actually day number 10 of Sukkot. So you can have, here we have a holiday that is 10 days long. And here at the retreat center that I'm at right now, they really lean into this. And so Sukkot is really celebrated for 10 days. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Everybody, does anybody have any questions over here about? Let me see in our comments over here. Yes,
Semek, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yes, Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if you alluded to this or now good time to expand on the idea that among the 3 in-gathering holidays, Pesach and Shavuos and Sukkot, and I use the old Ashkenazic pronunciation, so I apologize, but that's what I'm doing. And but also what I found fascinating, you can expand on that, how it was originally almost Bacchanalia. It was a really wild drinking festival, and I guess some rabbi said, let's tone this down and reincorporate it into a harvest. So if you want to, if you didn't touch upon it or just expand upon it, if you did.
Yeah, yeah. So the as I mentioned earlier, one of the prime imperatives on the holiday of Sukkot is to be joyful. In the book of Deuteronomy, it says, "And you shall be just joyful." And that is actually in contrast with the high holidays that have just passed. We just had Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, solemn days, and then there's the contrast of being very joyful. Now we find that contrast actually in the book of Ecclesiastes, where it starts out fairly depressing if you read through the book of Ecclesiastes, but then the second half gets really, really fun. Yeah, and toning it down, that's interesting. So a lot of people still treat Sukkot, especially Simchat Torah, what comes right after Sukkot, as a Bacchanalia. So that's one of those days where people, in more religious communities, get roaring drunk. But so yes, that hasn't been completely toned down. But yes, that was always in the creation of holidays. You're absolutely right, Peter. There was always there's a need for release, but also to always there are borders for that release. You temper it. You can't go entirely meshuggah. You have to stop at a certain
Not only
place.
Meshuggah, but also Shikar, drunk.
Yeah.
One last thing.
Sure.
Also about Sukkot is, and let me see if I wrote something down here. Oh yeah, many years ago, city congregation celebrated Sukkot by taking a trip going up to Haverstraw, New York. Maybe some of you may remember that. And we took a trip on a guided tour on the Clearwater on the Hudson River, conditioning or repositioning Sukkot as an environmental. I know we have Tu B'Shvat, but this was reconstituted as an environmental harvest, getting with nature, and it was a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful ride on the Clearwater. That's Pete Seeger's boat. You may have heard in song and pictures, and maybe even done it. And we really got to understand the water and the environmental aspects. So it was and there was a lot of kids with us at the time, and it was a wonderful reworking of the holiday in those terms. And I think, even though you said you don't like Yom Kippur and you prefer Sukkot more, I think, and there is liturgy in various things in the secular humanist about how to really elevate and honor Sukkot without just making it an add-on, but making it individual and focused holiday. So that may be something in the future to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Peter. I'm a proponent of that, a big proponent of celebrating Sukkot to a greater extent. So I welcome ideas from people here at City Congregation about how we can celebrate Sukkot more effectively in our community. But yes, it is. As I said, like that's a beautiful idea on Sukkot, to go on the Hudson River and to just, because it's the holiday that's most associated with water, because it's the shift from the dry season to the wet season, and just there's a lot of concern about rain and its effect. And so yes, that's a wonderful tradition. And yes, we do have a lot of secular humanist traditions revolving around the holiday of Sukkot. There's a good deal of liturgy composed in Israel by humanist liturgists there. And there's just we do have a wealth of what to draw upon. I just was giving some weird and wonderful examples that we have that are associated. It's with this holiday. It's a very rich holiday. There's a lot of material about Sukkot that can be celebrated, and there's also a distinct holiday that's attached to it, the holiday of Simchat Torah. It's a holiday that I like a lot personally, because I'm a biblicist, meaning I studied Bible academically, and so I just going reading and rereading our traditional texts to see you know, to just you know, to find out more about the stories, where we came from, I think is always a good idea.
And also good to look for loopholes.
Loopholes, no. We've been looking for loopholes. Us Jews have been looking for loopholes ever since the beginning. Yes. Okay. Anyone else would have any questions about Sukkot?
I don't, but I saw one on the chat there. I'm sorry, Anna.
Yes.
I'll let you, and someone said about the lulav in the Easter tradition as well as the Jewish tradition, and that is a very good discussion point. Can you address that, if you can?
Sorry, say that again, Peter. I missed the last
Someone
part.
put in the chat about the lulav,
The lulav.
and the palm for Easter,
An
and
Easter
it's not,
palm.
and how they're the same but not the same, and the use is not the same use. And you want to address that?
Well, I only can speak about the use in Judaism. I do not know about you know, maybe some other people have more experience here with palms on Easter, but I don't. I can speak a lot about the lulav, but not very little about palms on Easter. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Anna?
Yeah, Anna.
Well, a couple of things I want to say, but I'd like to start with the joke that I heard. I thought it was very funny. It was from this Russian person I know. You must know that the Communist Party in the 50s and 60s, especially after the war, was very anti-Zionist. And so the joke is that when they read the 5 books of Moses, you know, the Hebrew Bible, they thought it was Zionist propaganda.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was very funny.
Yeah. You know, that reminds me of another joke, but somebody, you know, they're, you know, somebody's seeing their friend reading you know, years ago in Stendhal Times, reading really anti-Semitic papers on the train, and his friend goes, "Why are you reading this?" And the friend says, "Well, you know, we're doing so well according to these papers. We're in control of the world, of the money, of everything, and you know, and look at where I live. You know, this is so much better. I want to live in this fantasy world." Yeah. Yes.
So the thing I wanted to ask, I mean, I'm just somewhat familiar with some of, you know, Ecclesiastes, Kohelet. It's very, very interesting. But I always kind of wondered, how come such a sort of modern, contemporary, controversial book was, why did those rabbis, what possessed them to include it in the canon? I mean,
That's the question of questions, Anna.
very odd.
So
why?
let me give you the view from scholarship over here. I'll try to be not very technical. There are actually, in the book of Ecclesiastes, there are actually 2 authors. One was the free thinker, and then there was a pious second author who made it kosher. So right at the end of the book, you say there's a verse that says, "In the end." The last thing that you should take into your minds is that you should fear God and should observe His commandments, and God will bring everybody in judgment. And that part of the book of Ecclesiastes, those last verses, are known to have been added by a second author, and it's acknowledged that they were added already by medieval Jewish commentators, meaning everybody thinks those verses were added. So there is that's how it made it into the canon, because it was given the stamp of kosher by that proto-rabbinic voice at the end of the book.
Yeah, but
So
that must have been like much later.
not much later, late, but
closed the
late
canon.
enough, late
What?
enough that it was. When it's people often pay attention to the last things, to the first things and the last things. So when you have that last. That last little bit in the book of Ecclesiastes, that makes the book kosher, because that's the last thing that you should take from it. The author says that, and that's what you should accept. Forget everything that was said before. The author is saying, remember these last verses, and you'll be okay. That's how he related to it.
Well, there must have been somebody. They must have some of them must have appreciated literature. Maybe that's
Yes, absolutely. No, it's very interesting. We really we have a tendency not to ban books as much in Jewish culture as in other cultures. So it's a tendency that I'm very happy for. I think as somebody who really appreciates free speech and free thinking. I think that we see it from very early on that the Jews kept even controversial books in their canons, and we should be very grateful for that in our tradition. Okay, friends. So I'm going to spend the rest of this evening with my family over here, and I'm going to transfer the hosting to Kathy over here. And so, thank you everybody for joining me and listening to this lecture on the holiday of Sukkot, which is one of my favorite holidays personally. I love the holiday of Sukkot, and I hope that we celebrate it more in our congregation. So, thank you.